I was thinking the other day, people always talk about going back in the past and changing things and what they would change. And I've started thinking about that seriously. Because, there's a lot of cool stuff in the past. People always talk about going back in time and changing this or changing that, or just being able to go back and re-experience certain things, go back to a different period in their life and start over. I personally had a lot of fun, a lot of different places, a lot of cool stuff. But I have no interest in going back and doing anything that would change where I am right now, because I am extremely happy with where I am right now, Everybody can always find some little thing to change about their life that they wish was different, but on balance, I wouldn't want to do anything that would screw up what I've got going right now. If I could be exactly where I am, have like another, $500,000 or something in the bank, that would be nice. But I really wouldn't want to do anything that would screw up where I am right now or who I'm with. I have no interest in, as interesting as some of the memories are, go back to like the 70s, listen to all the really great rock bands as they're putting out their stuff, hear it all for the first time again, jam along with it on my guitar. Go back to the 80s, some of the cool stuff that happened then, places where I used to hang out, the era of rewinding VCR tapes and take them back to Blockbuster. But I seriously wouldn't want to do anything that would change where I'm at. So I guess that's a success in life, If you can say, man, even if I had the chance, a genie granted me 5 wishes and said, go back, you can change all these things, do this, do that, I would not want to do anything that would screw up where I am right now. So I think that's probably a mark of a reasonably successful life. I could say maybe I could have my wife with me and take her back with me in time, and we can experience some of these cool things together that's from way back when. But on the other hand, do I want to take her back to the days when you had to scour the shelves for a VCR tape to watch a movie and stuff like that, and computers were a novelty with a dial-up connection, and video games sucked, as far as their sophistication and so forth, at least. Why would I want to do that? The world we're living in right now, where you can go on YouTube or somewhere, anywhere you want, pull up any piece of music that you want to hear from all of recorded history pretty much, and enjoy all that, any movie, any opera, any classical concert, any rock concert that's been recorded. Life is pretty good compared to the way we had to deal with things in the past, Sure, you can look back with some nostalgia, but life goes on, and for the most part, I think, we keep trying to improve things for people. In terms of pollution and stuff like that, there were times back there in the past, do a little accelerating here, where things were a whole lot worse than they are now. With, some of the clean air and stuff that we've got, Clean Air Acts and different things, and cutting back on pollution. I would for sure go back in time and change this idiot pulling out in front of me, crawling around, trying to make me miss the light, for sure. That I would change, for sure. But anyways, what 5 things would I change? Now he's looking at me in his rearview mirror like, you're going to do something. Come on. So there are 5 things I would like to change, but they're not for me. So here they are. The first one is I would go back in time and make it so my mother didn't have to deal with rheumatoid arthritis her whole life and all of that, Because she had horrible issues with that for her whole life. And, even when I was young, she already had, her hands were in such bad shape. And then she was always having surgeries, having pins put in there, and, having joints fused and stuff like that. It's horrible, even at such a young age, what she had to deal with, and the pain and suffering, And she still was just amazingly active in terms of doing so many different things and always thinking about other people instead of herself. So if I could change things and make her not have to deal with that life, that would be my number one thing. Number two, my sister, like 3 days before she was going to graduate from high school, was in a horrible car wreck. And little tiny, used car that my dad bought for her. And she picked up my cousin, and, we lived out in the country. My cousin lived down the road on this big dairy farm. And so she picked her up. They were going down this curvy road to go to school. It's a pretty dangerous road anyways. College kids or high school kids were always going out, getting drunk and running off the curves. Especially when I was young and they didn't really have guardrails and stuff everywhere to try and prevent people from going over these little bridges into the creeks and stuff and dying. But they were on their way to work. Some drunk guy coming home in the morning, I guess, after a hard night of partying, came around a corner on the wrong side of the road, in their lane, big giant station wagon. My sister slammed on the brakes, and then she slid across into the other road, because of course back then, when you slammed on your brakes, the only thing that happened was the tires locked up and you started sliding, And meanwhile, the other guy, he decides, oh shit, and goes back in the other lane, head-on collision. My sister's leg was broken in 4 places where she had it jammed up against the brake pedal. Really bad head injury. My cousin, really bad cut. Her one eye was basically hanging out of the socket, from what I understand. Horrible. I was like 9.5 years younger than her. We got home from school that day and found somebody waiting at our house to take care of us because our parents were at the hospital. And that shit screwed up my sister's life so bad. I'm amazed how well she came through it, honestly, all things considered. But she was in a body cast for like 6 months. Actually, not too long after she got out of that, she came down here from Pennsylvania to Florida to stay with our aunt and uncle in Ocala. And she's walking around on her crutches, and she slipped. Her leg went underneath the bed, and she broke it again. Bad luck. And, she also had to deal with some other issues, which probably shouldn't get into too much here in any detail, but, like some schizophrenia and stuff like that. Which I've often wondered if that was something that she would have had to deal with anyways, or if that was a result of that head injury and laying around a body cast for 6 months and everything, But she had a lot of issues that came from that. So if I could go back in time and keep her from being on that road that day, that's the second thing I would change. Third thing I would change, my father would have never started smoking cigarettes, and been in such addiction to those things. He was a hell of a man, He was a hell of a man. Worked like a dog, Worked like 3 or 4 other men. The only health problems he ever had in his whole life, really, were because of those damn cigarettes, and ended up finally, with the emphysema and everything. He may have had might have been a little bit touched in the head too with some issues. So I'll roll that all into the third thing I would change. The fourth thing, my brother, I would, he's had some issues, had to deal with some things like some serious blood clots and stuff like that. Some other surgeries like on his hips and stuff. And some different things with some of his kids and his wife with some health issues. So if I could go back and change that and make it so he didn't have to deal with any of those things, that would be number 4. Number 5 is moving on to someone else, and that's my wife. Thank you. I would go back in time and cure her father, who died when she was like 8 years old. I think from probably like some, I don't know if it was like kidney failure or something, or exactly what, I forget now. But man, if her father was still alive today and healthy, it would have certainly changed her life, the lives of her brother and sister, their whole family. I'd like to hope that I could do all that and not have it change her meeting me. That would kind of suck, but you know, that's an interesting dilemma there. Would I go back and do that even if I knew that maybe we would never end up together? That would be a tough one, because I wouldn't like that, you know. Like I say, I'm pretty happy with where I am, and a lot of that's because I found her, you know, and for whatever reason, we just click, and you know, we should be where we are. And I think that she believes that too. But if her life had been different, and they hadn't had to go through all the things they did after her father died, I don't know if we ever would have met, you know, because it was very unique, one in a trillion set of circumstances that led to us being where we were and doing what we were at the time, whenever we just happened to accidentally end up together. But that would be my 5th thing. So there you go. Those are those 5 things. Stuff for my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, and my wife. And nothing for me, because I've got what I want, you know. Things could have been different. If the genie said, "Come on, man, since you're so nice and took care of everybody else, let me do something for you," I'd be like, well, I wouldn't mind still having hair, and if I could have perfect teeth and perfect vision, that would be good too. Give me that, and that's all I need. I'd be happy. I think when you can get to this point in your life, when you're in your 60s, and the only regret you have is that you don't have perfect hair and teeth and vision, it's not the worst life, you know. So all in all, there you go. That's my list of 5 things I would change if I could go back in time.